Hey everybody, welcome to the Saturday's races for the UD6. I'm today with Mythical, as always. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It was slow going earlier in the morning, but I'm doing great now. And I was gonna say ready to go fast, but I'm not. I'm gonna stay right here, and it's gonna be other people who are going fast, and I can't wait to watch. The game today is The End Is Nigh, and it is a different sort of platformer than Donkey Kong, which I would guess is kind of our only other pure 2D platformer. There's a lot more precision going on, and it's not quite as punishing per death that Donkey Kong is. And it's also just much harder to not die in this game. I think we're going to see there are really good top 10 times on the leaderboards that still have like 7, 8, 10 deaths in them. So that's going to be the big thing today, I think.
The other major thing for today is that this is the 10th game, and this is the end of our like reveal phase or casual nice, gentle, like one game a week phase. We announced every game for the UD. The UD is this challenge about speedrunning 10 games, learning how to play them fast and play them fast in a row, back to back. And we announced The End Is Nigh last Saturday, and this is the 10th game now. Everybody knows the complete lineup for UD6. We are getting this casual learning tournament today where we are going to do The End Is Nigh twice, just to get the hang on how to run, how to get the game in tourneys, what is like to play through the game. And then we are going to have some interesting months and weeks coming up, because we are getting into the competitive aspect of UD6. A lot of runners join in for the fun and for the community, and everybody still wants to get a shot at getting invited to the grand finals, which is like the grand prize for UD6. And in order to get place your ticket to the grand finals, you gotta win either the July tournament, the August tournament, or the September tournament. And for that, you have to play very well for 3 weeks in a row, through the 10 games in a row, and it's going to be very interesting. It's starting in 2 weeks, so yeah, The End Is Nigh is the 10th game. It is the last game, no 11th game. Sadly, you are not going to get like your bonus game. We never done that. Maybe if like Spelunky 2 would release like right now, we could add it up. I don't know, but no.
You might have to change the name. I don't even know what an 11th lawn would be.
Well,
there's a number word for it though.
Yeah, definitely there is like some Greek. Figure that out, I guess. But yeah, I'm very excited. And yeah, back on the subject, The End Is Nigh is a, like you said, precision platformer, very reminiscent of all the fan games, like the I Wanna Be the something games, like very precise, a lot of spikes. You just get a one jump that is very precise. You can adjust to the different jump height pretty easily, because in order to get your maximum height jump, you gotta keep your A button pressed for a long time, and that allows for some very accessible, I'd say, jumping management. You can get into it pretty easily. It's, in my opinion, the easiest of all the platformers we put on the UD6, probably one of the easiest game to get into. To get a good time though, not that easy, because you will get like hundreds and hundreds of deaths. Very reminiscent of a Super Meat Boy also, but you cannot run. And I've watched a fair deal of The End Is Nigh, and the game has a super cool flow to it. You are never interrupted, and that's super awesome to watch.
Yeah, they learned, I mean, Super Meat Boy, one of the great successes of it was the fact that as soon as you die, like, bam, you're right back in it, because when you're playing that kind of game, you only want to try again after you die. You don't want to do anything else. You don't want to see a glorified... Well, they do the Reaper. You can watch yourself die over and over if you want, if that's what you want. But most people want to get back into the game and start and get it right this time. So this game, like Super Meat Boy, will snap right back into the start level. and then screen to screen, it will flow very nicely from one to the next. That makes it quite enjoyable to watch, and I'm really looking forward to it. We've got 10, 15, 16, maybe 17 people who came out today, which is not as much as I would have expected until you told me that France is playing in the World Cup right about nowish.
Yeah, exactly. We are like playing against the Argentina right now, so maybe some runners are more interested in watching that. I would totally understand, but we cannot shift, as I was telling, like the schedule around everything. So, congrats to Psychos, FSVGM, Fireman, Brothermain, Barramundo, Devil Tifa, FrapZC, KTH, MC, Zoff, The Mask, Fabulous Jets, Magic Kunin, and I did not get the last name, and Soggy Toost, to like not have to have overcome the social obligation to watch your team play. But I've noticed like some non-French guys there, so it's maybe easier for them. But yeah, obviously, like if we are so interested in esports and speedrunning races, I guess that's like normal to be interested in sports because it's like kinda the same deal. And I was personally watching the match right before the stream started, so no problem with that whatsoever. But the N9 races are going to be super tense. Some players have a super good time into the game and put like hundreds and hundreds of deaths and tries on all those levels we are seeing right now. And yeah, the game has some super simple aesthetics, very easy to understand. You play that little ball of goop through like 125 levels, if I recall correctly, and they do like go super quickly, and dying comes very fast also.
Yeah, some levels shorter than others, and that matters because each screen is kind of a checkpoint. So there are some longer levels where a death at the end will cost you 8-9 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up pretty quick in a game like this. And so I was kind of looking forward to there's kind of two parts to speedrunning this game, and one is don't die. Minimizing the deaths is so important. Sometimes they only cost you 1 second, sometimes 4, sometimes 8. So those will chew away at your time really easily, and almost any mistake will get you killed in this game. It's one of those games where everything is a snake or a pit or a bird or some kind of poisonous gas cloud. So I think players are going to be trying mostly not to die. But then second to that is the part that I really like of speedrunning this game, where you've got the fast fall and you've got the hanging on the ledge to jump off because for some reason you jump a lot faster when you jump off a ledge. So there's some optimization to the movement that is really fun to see. But again, I think the players are going to be focusing on not dying primarily.
Yeah, it is like all a matter of precision, but once you know the faster strats, you want to go for them, and you have a greater risk of dying, and it's all a balance. But I do feel like it's one of those games where everybody is going to be like between 50 and 150 death, and it's more like doing what strat did you die? Did you die trying like for faster strat, or are you less experienced with the game, and did you die like going for some easier stuff and still died? Because once again, the game is super challenging, but it's small. It's all in small sections, so everybody can get through the game, at least the first half, because we are just doing like saving your friend, which is like the main story, and then the game opens up the dark world where everything kills you and you have a limited number of lives. So we went for the gentle category. And we see on the screen the player cards. Now that we have the 10th game, we see all those beautiful colors, and we see some players with very experienced and very good at a lot of the games, and some runners are more like picking the games they choose, and maybe they will get to the entirety of the decathlon later, but yeah, Bermundo is a good example of someone that did run pretty much everything, fourth on the leaderboard for the grind and third for the races. So every official race, the players put up their best race time on their player card, and we add up all the scores. And Bermundo had some very good results on the platformers, so I guess the N-Disney is going to be one of those also. He did not join Inertia nor Metal Slug races, so he will have to wait for the later tournaments during July, August or September to get some colors going on there.
Yeah, that gray bar it stands out against all those wonderful, beautiful colors now. The players have got access to all 10 games. I'm seeing some more of those achievement badges also starting to light up, perhaps now that the players are able to actually play all 10 games since they know what they are. We also saw KTH, who is maybe going to end up being the underdog today compared to Bermundo, like we talked about. Zof and Brother Main, who all have times that are there's a bit of a gap there, so we'll see how KTH manages. Zof, I'm not surprised. I was going to say surprised, but I shouldn't be, because Zof has done very well in pretty much every tournament he's been in, but is second overall, actually, currently. Quite a bit behind Devil Tifa, who is some almost average 2,000 points, which would be 200 10 games. Ball shenanigans with the players found has helped inflate that a bit, but that is still that is a lot of points. And Zof is in second, is looking really good, not just in today's N-Disney tournament, but also going forward in the overall standings.
Yeah, and Zof has proven like being very motivated. He joined a lot of tourneys. We do like side events on Sundays and Thursday, and he's always almost been there. He is very, very involved with the UD6, and I do feel like he's going to be one of those players who can like qualify right away in July, and that would be like such a relief for maybe someone that does not want to do so much in the competitive aspect. I don't know how he's feeling about all those 10 games, but yeah, pretty much except Metal Slug, where he's like about 60 points behind Devil Tifa. He is doing fantastic overall, and yeah, the N-Disney is one of his best games also. He's fifth on the leaderboard. Brother Main is second. We got ICOD, which is a fantastic N-Disney runner in the first spot. Maybe preventing anyone from getting that first spot, but we'll see. The race is starting right now. We are going to focus on Bermundo, Brother Main, Zof, and KTH, but obviously we have 16 runners, and we'll get a peek at Devil Tifa's Fireman, FSG, VGM, and Magic K runs throughout the entirety of the stream.
Alright, so they're off. Well, I was kind of surprised at how quickly the game ramps up. Normally in a platformer they give you the baby stages first, and there's only like 3 or 4 before it starts getting to the sort of difficulty that you might be familiar with if you played through something like Super Meat Boy. You start getting these moving platforms, and in not too long, they do get a nice little shortcut available. For now, it's pretty smooth sailing, straightforward.
Yeah, the first world of the N-Disney is pretty easy, straightforward. It's maybe harder than the forest in Super Meat Boy because of one of those screens we can see on Bermundo's top left corner, because you got those moving platforms, all those spikes, but a lot of the jumps are set in the N-Disney, like the ledge jumps are always going the same way, so it's, sometimes it goes super quickly because you just know exactly how you're going to jump. It's all about precision, and you got also one of those screens where it's just about like jumping. This screen though, not so easy because of the crumbling blocks on the middle side. It's all about timing. but all the runners are very very close together, and I'm not surprised the first 3 worlds will always be about the same, like except if Brotherman and Bermondo die there and Zoff gets first to the arid flats, the second world of the game. The game had that nice aesthetics, it makes for the game very easy to follow. The soundtrack is also super enjoyable, so it's overall a very nice experience. To watch, at least. Playing, maybe some players are going to have troubles with it.
Yeah, it can be a little stressful, and it can put you on tilt. When you die, you get right back into it, and if you're good and you're strong mentally, then you can put that out of your mind and get right back to business. But I have noticed players have a tendency to, if they die on a screen once, they are then more likely to die on that screen again than they were if they had just come into it clean the first time. I don't know if it's like people who get struck by lightning multiple times or something, but whatever the case is, I have noticed that to be a bit of a pattern, at least with some players. But if you are having trouble keeping track, there is a level counter in the bottom right that you can use to see who is with who, and that will tell you that Brother Mean and Zof are very, very close to each other, with the other players not too far behind. Barramondo on the same screen here with this, I don't know what these are, blowing in the wind, but you don't want to touch them.
Tumbleweeds with spikes that fly. It's the arid flats are pretty much just Arizona at that point. But it goes smoothly, but once again you see that the difficulty ramps up very very fast. We get a nice shortcut here, so the game has that open layer to it, and you can explore throughout multiple exits per level, and you have like sometimes shortcuts if you do like the correct order of the levels. Zoff dying multiple times here, getting the lead, giving the lead to Brothermain, and that's exactly what you said. Once you die multiple times, you start like getting stuck, but Zoff finally makes it on par with Barramondo, and Brothermain has a nice, almost an entire screen lead. Incredible.
Yeah, this is KTH is right there with these guys. This is a lot closer than I thought it was going to be based off of those best times. So this might be a situation where, a player has put in a bunch of practice time, but hasn't necessarily put in time to churn out a run and upload it to the leaderboards and all that. So maybe KTH was a bit of a sleeper here, but is right there with the best, though the players do got a bit of catching up to do to catch Brother Main here.
I'm sure the end is nigh, maybe alongside with like Donkey Kong, is certainly going to be one of those games where a player can completely smash his world record if he's only done practice and not has put a run together in a long time, because there are so many single levels you can practice over and over again. It's pretty easy to get just into practicing and not doing actual runs, because all those single levels are very cool strats to them, and I would totally understand like a runner preferring to just go with practice and not doing entire runs. And obviously it makes for some very interesting races. And Brothermain still first in Overflow 17, has a nice lead. Barramondo did struggle with 2 very long levels, though, so sadly has like some very long catch up to do. But once again, the game is about 20-25 minutes long, so, and we still have the layer levels that are going to cost the most. And we see some deaths here and there, and this is not the game where one death mean you lose, but it just adds up over and over again.
Yeah, what you're really worried about is the one death that throws a player off for a second death, third death, and then all of a sudden you'll really see a gap like this close. Not that you want that to happen to a player by any means. That does seem to be where the big swings tend to happen in this game, though we could see some pretty big swings due not to deaths, but to some platforming execution here. Though I don't know if I would call it platforming, this bird riding technique that's coming up here in the Wall of Sorrow.
Yeah, the Wall of Sorrow is the first wall they all choose to do after the split, so it's not really a choice. We did ask them to go with that wall first because it makes for some easier race to follow. The splits opens up 3 different walls you can do in any order, it doesn't matter at all. You do not have like some skills you unlock. This is no Metroidvania or anything. You do play through the entirety of the game just through your skill and experience. And the Wall of Sorrow has probably the worst screen in the entire game because of those bird skulls that kill you and fly in a semi-random pattern that we can see on Brother Main screen. Here he rides it smoothly. The second screen here with the 2 birds with the setup to ride it falls sadly and now has to struggle with both of them.
Oh.
It's pretty tense and makes it nice backup. Didn't die. Zoff is right behind him now.
Yes, Zoff got like the halfway, but then he missed it, and then I didn't actually know that could happen, but dies there at the bottom.
So if you press select or back on your controller, you instantly die, which is like if you know you are going to fail, you'd rather do that. It's faster than just finding a spike or a pit to commit suicide. So it is like just showing the experience of the runner. It was like, okay, I'm off, I'd rather die and start over. Which is a cool strategy in that game, I totally understand, because once again the deaths are not like Shovel Knight deaths, they are just like very minor inconveniences. It's probably the game where dying cost the less in the entire UD. Maybe Trial alongside with that, because Trials can have some very short deaths, but that's pretty much it. And obviously in any speedrun you'd never want to fail, but since you are going to fail when you're playing live, you will have some failures, obviously, and you need to adjust for them. So Brother Main finishes the Wall of Sorrow first. Get to Exodus. Exodus is probably one of my favorite worlds personally. It's very difficult, but it's very reminiscent of the Super Mario Bros. 3 fortresses and World 8 with all those cannons and the flying machine you're on. And I really like that. It is probably one of the harder world in the entire game though, so the player have to remember to dodge all those bullets, and here the smallest of mistakes will cost you a lot because all those screens are pretty long, making you go back and forth and waiting for some moving objects, so those can cost a lot of time.
Yeah, we saw one of the things that let Zof catch up so much to Brother Main was a level where in the Wall of Sorrow where you're riding some clouds around and then you have to wait on one for it to sink all the way down and die on some spikes after waiting all of that time. So those are the levels also with a pretty bad death there at the top. That's a 3 or 4 seconds gone. This you want to go fast, but the cycles that these things are on, if you're kind of doing the same thing, you'll be in the same cycle, but you'd be surprised at how you can shave bits of seconds off here and there and find yourself at a rather different part of a cycle. So even for these guys who have gotten quite good or quite consistent, it is still very easy to find yourself not quite aligned in the pattern that you were aiming for.
Yeah, it is amazing how much time you can save just through different techniques of platforming. If you do the fast fall just in a single small ledge, you can save actually like tenths of a second each time, and it adds up a lot. You can also, each time you jump, you want to do some ledge jumping instead of just a plain normal jump because it goes faster. It saves 2 tenths of a second, and you do a lot of jumps in that game, like a lot of jumping. So if you do try to save like all that time, it's a bit reminiscent of the pumping in Super Metroid, or in A Link to the Past, like if you are going to be able to shave off a lot of time, you can actually save a lot throughout the entirety of the game. And yeah, it's all about, the game is entirely about cycles. If you watch Bermuda screens, you see all those moving platforms and things. It either adds up or is there to just slow you down. And Brother Main had like a fantastic Exodus. Small mistakes here and there, obviously, but gets to retrograde first, and retrograde is probably the easiest of the all the worlds that are coming up. So he should be able to keep his lead going throughout this level, this world at least. But we get to the machine after, which is the most reset heavy world in the entire game. So we'll see how it goes for them.
Yeah, there's some pretty mean levels in the machine where they take a long time, and there's something near the end that is pretty difficult that can get you. So certainly concerned about it a little bit. I really like this level where you have to chew out a block for you to or maybe not a block, but a ledge that you can grab to progress. And then we see that we got this guy who shoots at where you are, and we'll see those things get an upgrade and start to shoot faster once they get into the machine. And those guys can be a bit of a problem. We got a thing level here where I don't even want to think about whatever is on the ground, but it tries to follow you, so kill time on the left and right sides. And that is the kind of level where if you screw up getting back, or you wasted 4 seconds doing nothing, waiting for the level to move. So levels like those are the key ones here.
If you pay attention to all the jumping Brother Main does, each time he grabs a ledge, you can see Ash, the main character, fold just a bit faster, and that means like one extra button press. We're all going to see it right now. You see like that fast fall he did. He tries to do it every time he's jumping, and that saves a little bit of time. Very nice jump here. I didn't know you could do that. I'm learning. This is one of the game where you are learning by just watching. A lot of the games in the UD, you have to put up a lot of practice in the levels, while Brother Main struggles with those anti-gravity pits. I don't know exactly what they are, but they're pretty
tractor
weird.
Beams, maybe?
Yeah, something along those lines. One of
they're
those...
they're in Portal, where they do the same.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of video games have them, but whatever they are, you get to kind of swim in them a little bit, and getting... that line is where gravity flips and physics changes, and so managing transitioning in and out of those barriers is pretty tricky.
Yeah. Plus, there's like that one. I don't know if it's a glitch or just like a way of manipulating the gravity field. But if you keep your down button pressed and then start mashing A to get some height, and release your down button, you will get some extra upward momentum, and that allows for the runners to grab the ledge of the anti-grav fields they're on. And this is not necessarily intended, but it's a good time save on a lot of those levels. Very, very aggressive strat on Brother Main screen though, and not on that one. This is one of the few levels where there is no fast strat.
Yeah, there was that one level where he grabbed the ledges across the top, and managed to get skip a cycle, basically getting early. Going for those strats. It's I mean, you either learn that strat or you don't, and I think the players kind of had to make it the edge guard there.
Too slow here.
Yeah, there's a lot, taking a look at what are the different strats available in this level, and what do I think I can do with my skill level and with the time I have to learn, and what's worth it and what isn't. Brother Main, with a bit of an advantage, having experience in the end is nigh already, so is probably, even though it is a race, is probably going to be going for some of those faster strats, and that's a pretty big edge, assuming you can pull them off. A really tricky room there, jumping through those gaps while the stage is kind of moving away from you is much harder than they are making it look.
Coming up like a very nice screen, you have to find a setup to go through it. I have a nice one. I think it's a bit faster than that. The game has some those nice cycles that are pretty easy to count, like between the moving platform, the moving object, the bullets that shoot at you. Everything is set. There is no or little RNG in the game, like the flying bird patterns might be considered random because they just change greatly depending on your positioning, but you can get like some very, very nice setups, and I feel The End Is Nigh would be one of those games where having the same information as we have on DKC, where all the strats are compared in difficulty and time, could be worth it, and depending on how many button presses you want to do with your downward and your jumping, and how fast or precise you have to make those jumps, it would be pretty easy to compare those different techniques. And yeah, very nice patterns, and we are in the Hollows, probably the second easiest world in the final worlds of the game. Retrograde was probably the easiest, and this one is all about some puzzles, all about like you do not see well except some very precise spots, and you might get tricked by some spikes you didn't see. Some swimming sections here, but it goes all nicely. Oh, except if you take some tests like that, sadly. Those like final spike deaths are the most terrible, because that's where the deaths happen usually, because you are focusing on the main aspect of the level and not that final tiny spike, and they cost the most because they are right at the end of the level, obviously.
Yeah, if you flub a jump or something and you die, you at least expect it. But when you're looking at the edge of the screen and expecting to see your character there, and then pop, your character is not, there can be a little jarring to process. Did I really just do that? I can't believe it. But Brother Main is done now, almost getting out of the Hollows, as the other players are getting in, has earned a pretty big lead, is moving into Golgotha, a little too early there, chasing the lava down to the floor, or no, I think it was going for the ledge, but either way, this is, there's no great mechanic. I mean, there's some enemies that follow you around, but that's not really a new thing. The lava certainly, obviously, but the biggest thing with this zone, I think, is just the color. It's so bright. It's like Virtual Boy red that assaults your eyes. It can honestly affect your ability to focus on the platforms that you're jumping to.
Yeah, it is all about like, and I would say to a degree the entirety of the game, like it's all about being able to process out some part of the levels. You have too much information. In that game, a lot of the blocks, a lot of the spikes you never touch, and if the game would like remove every element but the small blocks you are going to jump onto, the game would be way easier, because it's all about, okay, I have way too many spikes, way too many ledges, way too many things, what do I actually need? And if you are able to process all those things out, you are going to have a much better time. Very, very nice strat on that level. Probably the hardest single screen of the game that went very fast for Brother Main. Bermundo ends off, in the meantime, had a very good Hollows and are in Golgotha also, so they have some catching up to do, and Brother Main is almost done with the game, so it's probably going to be near impossible. Brother Main with some very, very nice techniques on Golgotha here, very aggressive. He has some experience with the game, and it shows right now.
Pretty far along. I think that is this the final screen? I think it is.
This is the end.
So So just a quick trip back to the hub and put our friend together, which is the namesake of the category, is going to be the finish for Brother Main. KTH is quite a bit. It was right there with the players through some of the early levels, and then once they hit, Wall of Sorrow, Exodus really started to drop back. So maybe he has just put in more practice time on those earlier stages. But either way, the race, in terms of what we're showing on stream, again, we are doing 2 races today, and the points you get from each race matters. In terms of the players we have here on stream, we got Zof just about 2 levels ahead of Berumando, with not too much left of Golgotha to play.
Yeah, this is almost done for Zof. This is the single game where I'm sure, 100% sure, that the players are going to have a good shot at doing better on the second time, because it's all about practicing and getting the physics onto your hands, and like the first run is very good practice for the second run, and once you know all the strat, this is a game that is pretty easy to grind, because it gets like, once again, it's all about processing information, and once you've done it the first time, it's going to get easier the second time. So I would not be surprised for all those runners to do better, although Brother Main did like a fantastic job on most of the parts of the game. So it's done for Zof. Also, Fireman on stream is right behind KTH, and once again we have about 16 runners, so we can show a lot of them.
Yeah, we got a couple more minutes before the cutoff. Zof threw me for a bit of a loop, died on Golgotha 20, which you'd think was kind of to the end of the goal. But there's spikes on that level, there's pits on that level. You still got to make those jumps. So I was wondering if we were going to see some last second lead change right at the finish line, but Mondo ended up 10-15 seconds back or so. We'll take a look at the leaderboards when we're done, but for now we got McKay loading up here in the top left, and FSVGM is in the machine early on, so he's going to have to hustle to make this cutoff.
We can see on FSVGM his timer, and we can see some difference between the real time and his actual timer. We are timing the game, removing, thanks to Live Split Auto Splitter, the loading screens, because there are like some tiny hidden screens that you get between each level. So the black frames you have between each levels are going to be longer or smaller depending on your loading times, your PC or whatever, and each time you die also the time may vary, so we do remove those, because since you died 200 times, if it goes between like a single frame or 5 frames, it will add up like a lot. So obviously there are going to be like about a minute, 60 seconds, 50 seconds difference between the actual timer and the real time. So yeah, no worries. And
Fireman and KTH are dying quite a bit here in Golgotha. KTH has hit these spikes 6 or 7 times now. They're the first thing you do in the level is touch down on that floor, so the deaths were pretty quick, but again, even the quick ones add up. I can't quite see what exact level KTH is on. I think it's
Golgotha
17
here. Yeah, this one everybody knows because it's once again the hardest screen of the game. So those Golgotha 14 with those 2 enemies and the spikes that are cycled exactly wrong for you to die onto either the spikes or the enemies. It's pretty bad. It's pretty tough. The faster strat uses a very precise jump. You cannot lose any time through the game. Fireman had right before the stream a PB at about 29 minutes, if I recall correctly, with 106 deaths. So you can get through at the 30-minute mark, which is like the cutoff for the tourneys, with more than 100 deaths. So yeah, they add up, and I'm pretty sure Bothermain on his PB had about like 30 to 50 deaths, even if he had a 21 minutes PB. So yeah, dying is not too bad. Dying a lot on the single level will destroy your run.
Iron Man having a bit of trouble opening up this level, baiting the block upwards. And but once it's out of the way, and you don't have to worry about it, you can break the they're not quite crumble blocks. I'm thinking of Super Metroid, but you need some speed to get through them, so they're more like speed booster blocks. But you can break through them yourself if that block is out of the way. So that was a cool strat. Really having trouble with this double block section here.
Yeah, it's all about like baiting those blocks. They're super fast and they just react to you being in the way. And yeah, the players are trying to bait them. We can see that like, clearly here. And yeah, sometimes it will not work because it is like finicky. Once again, those moving objects you do not control.
Look at what happened here.
Yeah, very nice. But anything you do not control in those precision platformers are the hardest elements, because the straight jumping is so well put together that you will likely never die to just like a single spike, but a spike plus a moving platform and suddenly everything goes wrong. But very nice finish between Fabulous and Fireman, almost at the same time. The cutscene starts like with just like a few seconds delay. To put your friend together faster, you have to attach the head and then the body and then put the heart in it to have a complete friend. Don't do that in real life though. And you have to like press Y while you press select to die. And you press Y 4 times quickly, and it will like just skip the animation and you will complete your friend faster. Though, if you press Y more than 4 times, the game will crash after the cutscene. It does not matter for all category, but it's just pretty funny. And that would kill an any percent run, so be careful with your Y presses.
Man, that was... Yeah, we swapped Fabulous there at the end. Actually, there was a bit of... there wasn't a self-suicider or anything that we know of anyway. But there was a small menu. I think it was... I don't even remember which pair was which, but opened the menu before actually getting the part of the friend, and close it, grab it, and that might have been enough to switch things up right at the end. You'd be surprised how close races of this game can be. Though maybe it ends up tie anyway. There's a bit of a window in terms of how many points are awarded for each time. I think are we doing 3 or is it 6 seconds?
It's a 20-minute game is 6 seconds, so 10 points per minute. And 6 seconds is a nice window in that game, so it will... I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the game that will decide the result of the entire tournaments, but if you do not have like a good time on the Indies night, you are going to lose a lot of points. So between the top players, it's not going to be too significant. Between the the players that are not so experienced with the Indies night, it's not going to be too easy. We saw a lot of runners on that race. We had the time to cycle through a lot of names, and it's tough. It's super tough to finish in time. You have to have some practice throughout every level and every single world. We saw KTH doing fantastic at the start, like up until like the first half of the game, like was on par with all the other runners. But as soon as we got to the machine and the later levels, Golgotha, it was harder to complete for KTH, because there are so many levels. Obviously it's going to take some time to practice, and the players that have either more time or more experience and learn faster will obviously on those learning tournaments do better. But it is a long process, and who knows how it's going to end up during like September. We do still miss a good like chunk of the community who do not join in those learning tournaments just because either they don't have time, or they do learn the game slower, or they would rather like start doing runs in 2 months, I don't know. And those runners do not underestimate, because like I'm thinking Melwest, Jant, Taker, a lot of those names. Sablier does not join so many tournaments, although, and they are like very, very likely to end up in the grand finals. So the levels, the skill level is going to ramp up slowly throughout the entire season, and I'm very excited for the end is nigh, and the second race is going to starting very soon, and we'll see if my estimation of players doing better is going to end up true.
We can see Brother Main managed 194. His PB is 197 actually, as of me hitting enter on this keyboard. But maybe there was something that happened just before that he didn't upload. But very, very close either way to his PB in a race. Got to be really happy about that. Devil Tifa, who also is very good at this game and apparently every game, racing off stream. Just 8 points back from Brother Main, and then we saw Zof and Barramondo 1 point apart, 9 seconds separating third and fourth. So this battle for top 3, I think, is going to get really interesting.
So
between Zof and even one of the others. If they run a bad race, they could see themselves fall here.
I'm super impressed, because all those players are either at PB or close to PB. So Devil Tifa got 20 seconds PB, Zof is 20 seconds behind his PB, Barramondo is 10 seconds behind his PB, and Brother Main is 15 seconds behind. So this is like super impressive, because you can lose a lot of time, and we saw every runner do actually lose a lot of time on some either easy level, but you get to the tilt point, or some harder levels, and it's super tense. So yeah, I'm excited to see how well it turns out. We are going to add up the points for those 2 races, and it's not, if Devil Tifa wants his 4th win, I think that would be, or 5th win, he needs to grab 8 points over Brother Main. It's about like 50 seconds, and it's not likely, but it may happen on the end is nigh, who knows.
I took a look at some of the other names that we saw that finished, and actually every player, KTH, Fireman, all of them with PBs in that race. So this is a game where a week was not enough to get to that point. I think this is or the players were doing, like you said, level by level practice, and now they finally have gotten to get back into some full game runs. But the PBs coming fast and furious here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see similar times in race number 2. If not, I mean, it's a little, literally just did their best. So to say that I think they'll do even better next time is maybe a little old, but chances are pretty good someone is going to improve this again. I'm pretty sure, just based off of where the runners are. It's turning out to be pretty interesting.
To be honest, this is probably like ballsy, but I would say that I expect the players, especially like on the second half of the leaderboard, KTH, Fireman, Fabulous, Damask, to do even better, even if they got PB just right now, because I feel like The End is Nigh is one of those games where just like the one extra level, the one extra run, the one extra practice will grant some better times. Personally, I never, like I did about 8 or 9 runs, it's not too much, but I always PB'd a run at the run after the other. So you just like put some more practice and you get a PB, and I would not be surprised if that was the case right now. Obviously, you will end up on those bad loops, especially for the better runners. If Brother Main takes like a bad death, is going to end up losing a lot of times. But we have the players in order with their previous run time. So Brother Main was first, Devil Tifa second, Zof third, and Barramondo force. If Devil Tifa wants to win that learning tournament, he has to put a 50-second lead over Brother Main. This is a huge ask, but he's already just a bit ahead here, about 5 seconds. Zoff and Boromondo obviously very close behind. So far, I expect every runner to be like on the same level all the time, because the end is, once again, not too bad at the start.
Yeah, I was going to say, to get 4 seconds on the top runner in just like the first half of the end actually signals to me the difference in stream delay more than there's some great amount of skilling on, because that would be quite impressive. Devil Tifa going with the cool stuff, the little shortcut path available at the bottom screen on that level. And Baramondo is keeping pace jump for jump with who are half a level ahead of the competition so far.
Oh, and Baramondo, bottom right corner, did take like a just silly death. Sometimes you will just press forward and either you forgot what level you are going to get into, or it just press jump. A bit too late. The game though has a nice coyote time, like the time you can stay in the air and still jump before actually falling to the ground. It is very nice. You have like a couple of frames after Ash completely leaves the platforms, and that actually allows for some very cool strat while you have some like close to frame perfect jumps right on the ledge of a platform. And we can see RE flat 5, a very long level where you have to wait for that platform to go up and down, allows for all the runners to be on the same screen at the same time.
And then we got Arid Flats 7.
And Devil Flat dying a couple of times in a row.
Yeah, this is you want to jump and touch that wall to trigger that platform to fall, so that you can jump on it and go across without having to do anything else. And it's pretty tricky, but a lot of players seem to be going for it. Moving in sync on the left side of the screen is Zof and Brother Main. But Baramondo here, in pretty early on in Arid Flats, has one stage over Brother Main and Zof, and Devil Tifa has fallen back by about 3 or 4 stages here, having some struggles in the flats.
Yeah, sadly, the Arid Flats show that you can lose time even on the easier levels. Sometimes you will... Oh no, Devil Tifa barely not making it. Good reaction time though. He noticed that he was going to die and had the correct reaction to it. This is like actually probably the hardest kill in any speedrun to get. Like completing a level following the exact route or the correct jumps like is one thing, but reacting correctly when something goes wrong is probably the hardest thing in the entire game, in any game actually.
Yeah, especially one as fast-paced as the platforming is in this game. Baramondo and Zof and Brother Main all on the same screen here. Baramondo a little bit ahead. That Arid Flats secret is really tough. That one jump, getting all the way off the wall around the spikes and then not slamming into the spikes on the floor. And then even if you get that really difficult jump, there's still one more sort of thread the needle kind of jump that has caught people before, and that is a heartbreaker. So it's either due to that or other parts of the Arid Flats. Things have evened up a little bit here between Baramondo, Brother Main, and Zof, who are doing some fish bouncing.
Yeah, all the players are just like one level apart. Baramondo is first, followed closely by Brother Main, followed closely by Zof, followed closely by Devil Tifa. Devil Tifa has some catching up to do, but this is the best place Devil Tifa can be because he is very good at catching up. Like, we saw a lot of Devil Tifa in like the previous seasons, just being right behind, and that's where he shined the most because he is like probably one of the most consistent players and has like no pressure whatsoever being behind, when some runners tend to struggle when they're first because you tend to overthink your race if you like are winning, and sometimes it's better to just like mute the stream, mute the mumble, just do your run as best as you can and ignore the rest.
We'll see. I've always been surprised what players find helpful and not helpful. Some people swear that they play better whenever they're talking to their chat on their stream, and that just blows my mind. I cannot imagine how that could possibly help you play, being split in your attention and focus. But you know, people are different, and whatever works for them is then, you know, go for it. So I'm always curious to see what kind of players, what kind of people our players are, learning about little things like that. It will be pretty cool, I guess, to meet some of these people in person. Whoever qualifies, of course, for grand finals, and whoever decides to come out and watch the events.
Yeah, probably,
I'm looking forward to that.
This is probably one of the main appeal of UD, is that at the end we do that live event where a lot of players, qualified or not, are going to come and say hello, stay for the weekend and watch speedruns all together. So I personally know a lot of those players, a lot of those runners. I have actually like stayed at my home, and I know them personally, and that's actually put some more empathy on those races, because like I don't want any one of those to actually lose or fail. I want all those runners to do as best as they can, and it goes very nicely for Devil Tifa, which catches up with Brother Main. Very, very close race right now, and Barramundo actually like with on par with Zoff. They are both like ahead right now by a nice level. Barramundo with a very good strat on those two birds level, very tough. Zoff doing the same thing and dying right at the end.
All right, but he manages to do it again on the second time. More birds. Double Tifa getting that bird there. This is the tough one, I think. Going to the right, and then getting back to the left at some point without the other bird intercepting you there.
Yeah.
All right, so Double Tifa
one bird would be difficult enough, but two birds here, like whatever the strat you're doing, and this is like not the hardest but the worst still level in the entire run. And like sometimes you are going to do like fantastic and just fail the one last jump. Devil Tifa falling back, and Brother Main, Zoff, and Barramundo are doing actually very nice. Barramundo still first, but as we seen with KTH last run, you can be like on very good position at the end of Wall of Sorrow, and then you get Exodus, you get the Machine, you get Golgotha still there, and those can cost like all your time. So finger crossed for Barramundo there, getting to the elevator at the end of Wall of Sorrow first. Brother Main is not far behind. We are going to see Barramundo going into a quick menu here, so he actually does not have to wait for the elevator to complete his course.
Double Tifa has some troubles in one of those longer levels where you are waiting for something. Went for the fast strat, went for the backup, missed it, and has really back here. Zoff now also into X, is going for this being on that very first cannonball and gets it. But Brother Main and Barramundo keeping step with each other. Almost reaching the halfway point of Exodus, and this is a pretty tough level. Lots of ledge grabs. Barramundo didn't like where he was in relation to the guns firing there. Opted to take a moment to just wait a beat and get synced backed up with the part of the pattern that he was looking for. And that's smart. That's the kind of thing that it takes a long time to experience and recognize when you're in those situations, and read and react. And as someone who likes to think about how a speedrun changes between going for a PB and racing, I really like to see those moments.
I had that discussion with during the HDQ. I commented in the French stream two runs back to back, one being a race and one not being a race, and I was like, yeah, I like races better because even if the players play the same, you have that easy to understand reason why he's doing his best. Like if you see one speedrunner alone, you can wonder why would not he do an easy strat, just a safer strat, just to be able to complete a run. He would probably go for the harder and more spectacular strategy, but in races you can see the other player is the living reason why you need to go as fast as possible, and for a viewing experience it's easier to understand. It's like, okay, he died, but if he did not, he would have lost time compared to the other. And I really like that easy to understand reason why speedrunning is so cool. Devil Tifa going for very aggressive strat here, sadly failing it, not going for it the second time. Very smart choice. You don't want to struggle again and again on a single level. Baramondo right behind Brother Main that started retrograde right now. Brother Main proved his experience in the game on Exodus, because he was behind starting the world and got a good lead compared to Baramondo right after it.
Yeah, these harder levels where the cycles that things move on, they start to get tighter. They start to be not like a big 6-second cycle of form moving back and forth. You get cycles of a second of a shopping fire to shopping fire to shopping fire, and so small differences in your movement, catching ledges, jumping off of ledges, fast falling, those little differences mean it's much easier to find yourself not correctly lined up with a cycle. So the experience and consistency that you get from playing the game for longer than a week really starts to show in the later levels once these tighter windows start to pop up. And so Brother Main has leveraged that to overtake Baramondo bit by bit over the course of Exodus. Retrograde probably going to go pretty smoothly for all the players, but then after that they're going to get to the machine, and it might be the same story that we saw in Exodus.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll try to measure the time difference between Brother Main and Baramondo, because I'm very interested in seeing those levels, those harder worlds, and they're harder because we can see at 13-16 Brother Main starting the machine. Baramondo is right behind though, just a level behind, and the machine has those quick cycles, and sometimes you are going to wait and everything kills you faster in the machine. But yeah, it's about 10-12 seconds differences between the two players. It's not too bad, it's 2 points difference, so it's not going to be that much in the long run. In the 10 games in a row, we might end up seeing hundreds of points differences between two players when we do the complete decathlons. But on the single race tournaments like that, 2 points might end up winning you the just bragging rights for that weekend.
You mentally weaken your when you get to come out and be like, I got you, man. I got that 2 point, that 1 point, whatever it is. Oh no, Devil Deep not quite wrapping around the tower, touching the block from below, triggering the crumble. Gonna have to get back and do that again. Brother Main to this it's pretty tricky, this long level with these conveyor belts, and you're incentivized to go faster when you're moving to the right by jumping, so that you're not on the slow conveyor belt that's carrying you back to the left. But every jump that you do is putting you at risk of hitting something. So nice Machine 8 though, to follow up from Brother Main, who is trying to put some distance between him and Baramondo, who is now also playing it a little safe in Machine 7 and does clear those last couple jumps that look like they shouldn't be any trouble, but they actually can very easily be trouble. And that's a really long stage, so that is a death you absolutely do not want to take.
We have a fantastic question in chat. This is not any %, and I understand the concern, because in any percent, you need termers. Those are going to be your extra lives on the second half of the game, and we do not care about those in Friend, where we just try to get to the first half through the first half of the game. But if we were to do any percent, that number of lives, of extra lives on the top left corner of each screen would be very worrisome, because going through the second half of the game with only like about 10 lives or so is near impossible if you're not very experienced with the game.
Yeah, and this is also no one is going to be very experienced with the game. I mean, Brother Main and Ecod have past experience with it, but the games and goals are picked with Ultimate Decathlon in mind, and so most players are going to be players who just picked up the game last Saturday and have been learning since then. So, certainly you want to make sure that you provide sufficient challenge, and this is a very challenging game, so that requirement definitely met. And then you want to make sure that it's bite size at least a bit, so that you don't overwhelm the players. As someone who involved with a lot of multi-game events, Super 16s and Big 20s and whatnot, there's a lot of people who want to join, they want to play, but they just feel overwhelmed by the amount of content. So I think Friend% is perfect for this event.
Yeah, we try to get some categories that anyone can complete, whatever the time, and those like game over conditions that are very punitive can be pretty awful for the newer players. And the UD is like a very competitive event, but also we try to get it open for anyone that is interested in speedrunning to get into the challenge without worrying on not being able to actually join in, because if you get like a game over and it's done for you, well, that's less fun, let's say. So the UD6 is probably very, very hard still, because we get some crazy titles like Shovel Knight, DKC, Trials 2 has some third challenge to it, and we get some easier games, obviously, because we try to get some variation in the difficulty. Like Cuphead in Simple is probably like one of the easiest game we ever put in a UD, and the End is Nigh is fairly easy to get into, and playing at the level Brother Main is showing right now is still pretty incredible.
Yeah, on Golgotha here, Barramundo, Hollows 9. I can't remember how many levels are in Hollows. It goes by pretty quick, so is a world ahead right now. But I think pretty quickly we'll see Barramundo. We'll be joining him in this Virtual Boy red hell that Brother Main is in.
You said Virtual Boy, and I cannot get that picture in my head.
I can't. Every time I didn't intend on using that line. Every time I look at it, I can't think of anything else. But Brother Main, wherever this is, he is moving through the section really well. It is not easy. It's worthy of being the final level of the goal. And we've seen some player deaths pretty quick, as Barramundo does just that. To the chain chomps here, taking some time to beat them high and then go low. There's some faster strats available, but they get pretty risky.
Something you might find weird is how the players grab the ledges so fast, and if you do press your R2 button, you keep it pressed while you walk on the ledge of a platform, you are going to automatically grab it, and that's how the players have some so smooth movement on every platform. And it is a very nice mechanic to have in the End is Nigh. It's one of those design choices which are just here to make the game a bit smoother, and yeah, the end design is all about that nice flow, that nice movement. Nothing is here to trick you too much. It's you have all the information on screen. You have like an easy enough controls to manipulate. Like the character does react very nicely. Nothing is slippery. The game could have like one extra ice wall or something to go with along with all the gimmicks in any platformer, but no, the choice are all about like control. And Brother Main finishes about 20 seconds faster than before. If he had like the same load times, this is definitely a PB for Brother Main, very close to the 20-minute mark, I'd say. Pretty much like he got uncontested from like starting at Exodus. He was a bit behind early on, but yeah, his expertise in the game just proven that the game is incredibly tough, and if you have like some good experience with the game, it's going to be easier at the start. Although I would say, since the UD is so long, it does not matter too much if you knew the game beforehand, except maybe if you were like actively running it right before the UD started. But we've seen like a lot of runners being actually like good or very talented runners on some games, and actually did not end up first on the leaderboard because the community actually helps itself, and having a lot of players playing all together, putting up some tutorials, some help, some tools in the game, you actually learn way faster if you learn a game during a UD than if you do it by yourself. So it's not going to be too much of an advantage for Brother Main. So we'll see how it goes at the end of the event.
That's right. I mean, that first July tournament is going to be coming up fairly soon, but you know, after that they get spaced apart, and that is your time to practice each game sort of doubles as you get closer to the end of the event. So the advantage gained from the prior knowledge, that gap starts to decrease over time. And we could see some new experts, perhaps, once we finally get into those late game UD tournament. For now, Devil Tifa, who did really well in race number 1 with, I think it was a PB, 15 seconds.
Yep.
And was struggling a bit in kind of in a lot of different places, is about halfway through Golgotha. Zof is done. We've got his lovely friend just came to hang out.
Yeah, chilling. I see what you did there. Hanging out, like, quite literally. But, yeah, very nice run from Zof. Brahman, though, is already done. We see Fireman and KTH on the Hollows. Fireman doing fantastic once again. He got like a good PB and he's on pace for another one here. But yeah, I'm surprised with Devil Tifa. Is usually very consistent, and just like probably things did not quite add up. Maybe he went for some crazier strats since he got a PB early on and saw that he had to do some pretty cool stuff, either to practice these strats or just to get plain old PB. But it's still going to be a very good time. Anything in the end is nice. Sub 25, I would say, is very good. You are not on World Cup pace, but sub 25 show that you have actually practiced a lot of those faster strats. Maybe not the best ones, but 25, very solid time, 150 points, pretty much enough to at least get to the top 16 of the longer tournaments. So what's going to happen in July is on the 14th of July, anyone can join in the tournaments. We are going to play through 5 games. And the top 16 is going to be awarded a white star on their player card. The top 8 is going to qualify for the next Saturday. And on the next Saturday, so that's July 21st, we are going to play through the 5 other games of the UD. And the top 4 for that tournament are going to be awarded Silver Star and go through to the final. The finals are going to be played through the next Saturday, so 28th, and the next Sunday, the 29th. And we are going to play through the 10 games, and the best 2 on the total are going to get the gold star and the place for the grand final, the tickets for the grand finals. And it's going to be very interesting to see what games actually matter the most, how well the runners do for the less experienced ones, because I do expect for the top 4 players to go throughout the 10 games with at least like 150 points on every game. But yeah, for the less experienced runners, for those who did not have so much time to put in practice, it's going to be pretty interesting to see if some games are more worth it than the others, what are the hardest game to do in races, and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll start to see there is a sort of meta game as to what you practice time towards, and sometimes just the nature of a game will lend itself towards this is something that you can get away with less practice time, or this is something you really want to put in more practice time. But I think far more than that, it just comes down to the players' abilities and preferences. So the people who really don't take well to navigating a 3D space in first person probably want to, take a look at A Story About My Uncle and Inertia. Players who have trouble dealing with, I guess physics. I just want to say physics, but like the really high momentum games where you don't have a lot of control. Than those previous 2 games, as well as Spectra Ball. But if it's more the fast-paced 2D stuff that doesn't click with you, then certainly the end is nigh. Even something like Cuphead, and then there's just the games that are just really long, really meaty, and those ones I think, particularly Shovel Knight and Aria of Sorrow. Especially the RNG manipulation in F-Sorrow will also demand players' attention, at least somewhat. So, not great advice in the end. Practice all the games is basically what comes out. But the players know. I think they have a pretty good feeling about what they want to be practicing, what they need to practice, which maybe doesn't line up with what they want to practice. So we'll see. Certainly players have their favorites that can maybe lead them astray, perhaps a little bit, but no, just how it goes. It's part of the fun, honestly, is discovering new speed games beyond the Ultimate Decathlon competition. You might find something you want to stick with and keep going.
Yeah, we do have a lot of runners that actually stick with the games. Like we had Jean taking the Castlevania NES world record after the UD3. It was in UD3? Yeah, it was in UD3. We had too many games, I don't remember all of them, but a lot of players are sticking with some games, like the one they preferred, and trying to put like a very good time on the leaderboard. And some games we are showing love and they deserved attention and did not have any, and some games did not deserve so much attention, but they're just fun to toy with. I would say like Spectra Ball is probably the example in UD6. It's a weird game, it's almost bad, but it's pretty fun in speedrun, and we found like a lot of strats, so the world record got smashed by about 2.5 minutes, so it's pretty fun overall for the entire community to work together on a game. For like the UD, you can join at any time. Obviously, if you join now, it's going to be harder to win, but you still can make it because you have like still 4 months to play through the game. It's not unusual for a runner to take like about a month or 6 weeks of a break in the middle of the UD, so maybe you already took your break and you just want to start right now, I don't know. But if you want to join, if you want to win, it's going to be tough, but we still have a lot of fun events. We have a team tournament starting tomorrow at 5 p.m. Where we are going to we are going to be able to show like teamwork. The runners are going to share the games, and the team that does the best is going to win. So we are going to have streams tomorrow at 11 a.m. on Thursday at 3 p.m. next Saturday at 11 a.m. next Sunday, and the Thursday after that. So we are going to do 5 games randomly chosen between the 10th game in the UD, and the runners are going to be playing together. For those who have some missing games, they are going to be able to play together the game, being able to learn more. It's just overall going to be a fun experience. On the week after that, it's going to be the July tournament, and after the July tournament we are certainly going to put up another fun event. We have some like different events we can do, but usually it will probably be either another team tournament if the players ask for that, or an alternate category tournament where the runners have to play through the game differently, because it's always fun also. But back to the games, and we had the times. Brother Main got sub 20. This is the 200 points mark. Very nice PB, and like he smashed the competition entirely there.
Yeah, he's got that. He had that really dark purple to that box in race number 1, but has now fully blacked it out, crossing that 200 point threshold. And we can take a look at some of the other players in race 1 opted to finish one out rather than, I guess it was just FSV GM, I think, or Magic K, who finished that one out. And I think I saw this thing actually, so they did manage to barely get in there. And in terms of improvement, Brother Main, Barramondo, and not quite KTH, but getting very close. Did manage to improve what was already close to, if not their personal best, and some people did a little bit worse, and Devil Tifa did quite a bit worse. What happened in race number 2 here? That's a 3-minute difference.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen him go for harder, faster strats on the machine and on Exodus. I don't know if it was consistently throughout the entire game. He was like, okay, I got 21-20, that was my PB, I need to step up. Or like if the second race was too much for him, maybe. And obviously when you get like sub 25, it's going to be harder and harder to get a PB. And yeah, the Andes 9 will do that for you. They will all need to practice their consistency and get to their PB time regularly. We'll see how it works though for all of the players in later tournaments. It's going to be pretty fun. Sadly, we do not have any game to reveal today.
Right.
It's done. The 10 games are there. If you want to join, if you want to learn one of the games like Shovel Knight, Cuphead, A Story About My Uncle, Spectrable, Metal Slug, Inertia, Castlevania Hour of Sorrow, Donkey Kong Country, Trials 2, or The Andes 9, be sure to go to the Discord. You got all the information with the !UD. Later, right after the stream, I'm going to set up the team tournaments. I'm going to see how many teams we have, who are the missing players, trying to get all the players together. And on tomorrow at the same time, 11 a.m., we are going to have the first game. I don't know which one is it going to be yet. I'm going to do a quick spin of the wheel and see what we are going to play tomorrow. So we'll see, it's going to be pretty fun. I'm going to try to set up like a better looking stream for the final 2 or 3 streams, maybe next Saturday, doing something fancier for in order to have like a good glance at the teams, how well they're doing. Obviously, you can follow everything on the website all the time, and if you need any information, like I'm always there, either watching some speed gaming or on the Discord UD. So yeah, like it was good. It was good game. Like the Andes 9 is meeting all my expectation, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. The consistency and the improvements that everyone did, especially in race number 1. Great to see. Really impressed with everyone's just general movement. The fast falling, grabbing ledges. Lots of people going for those little time saves. of catching ledges and doing ledge jumps. When you've got such a limited amount of time to learn, it can be pretty tempting to pass up on some of those and opt to instead focus on, drilling down. Here's how I avoid the obstacles and not die in this level. But players really went for it. Really got to get into what I think is the strength of The End Is Nigh when it comes to speedrunning. Really started to show it off. Looking forward to seeing how the players do over time. I don't know how much time they'll put into practicing The End Is Nigh as compared to some of those other games. Certainly the team tournament will influence where people's focus tends to go, depending on what these games tend to be. So maybe it won't be so much of a question of should I practice this thing that was really old, or this thing I didn't do so well at, or I kind of skipped over, or maybe it's just, hey, I'm in the team tournament, I need to practice this game because this is coming up. So less thinking involved, which I'm always a fan of, but it's now that the games are out, there's less surprise, there's less wow, there's less discovery, but we start to drill into the improvements and growth and seeing how players change over time, looking for the little things. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So next Saturday it is going to be the half of the team tournament. We're going to have like a nice chill stream, commentating just 4 runners on one single race and seeing how the results adds up for the to the first 2 matches of the team tournament. And that Saturday after that, we are going to have, in that order, Eye of Sorrow, Trials 2, Metal Slug, Inertia, and Shovel Knight is going to be a 4-hour stream. We are going to get some of those longer streams next on the later part of the season, so get your sandwiches ready for to be able to follow all that. It's going to be pretty nice to see finally some different games back to back, because this is where the entirety of the UD resides. Like, it's where it's fun, it's where we can see if the practice is enough. Some players are going to have like some smooth sailing throughout the entire games, and some players are going to have some setback in some games and some major successes in others. So it's going to be pretty cool. Obviously, for those tournaments, the limit is 100 points. If you get anything after the cutoff, it's 0 points. You are almost disqualified. Like, it's going to add up still, but if you are like 150 points behind, it's going to be tough to catch up. So for the players who do not want or are too fearful of that mark because they are not ready on all the games and they want like an easier tournament, we are going to set up a side tournament where the players do almost whatever they want. They can like just get the all the time they want. There is no cutoff, but it does not matter too much. It's just like we are awarding a black star for the top players. So it's all fun. Once again, the UD is an open tournament. We try to get everyone involved as much as they can, and it's going to be pretty fun to see who decides to join the 1st July tournaments, who says, oh, I'm not experienced enough with the games, I should like practice more and take like the month of July off. Obviously we are going to see less players but more focus on the winners as the month progresses, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, for sure. Excitement is the word of the day, apparently, but it's fitting for sure. Yeah, I want to leave off with like a description of the next game, but there's no next game. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna watch players play some speedruns, I guess, and play some myself. I skipped over, and really looking forward to going back and catching up. I know you've got a bit of catching up to do as well.
Yeah, I did skip Trials DKC. And I need to come back to some games because I know I have some easy PB to get throughout the complete like selection. So I need to go back to the first games. Also, Shovel Knight is pretty old now, so I need to come back to it, remember the different routes to pick up all the games. So I might do the 10 games in a row at some point during the week. we'll see. I know some runners do love those, so maybe a practice 10 games in a row. I don't know when, but it's going to be pretty fun just to be able to play all those games, to be able to discuss all the different strategies with all the runners, because now we've done like PBs, we've done like single game practice, but is it worth it to go for that single super tough strat when you don't necessarily have the time to practice everything? We'll see what the runners decide to do, and maybe someone will shine. Double Tifa ends off or probably like the best guess for who's going to win on the 29th of July, but this is in an entire month, so we'll see if that holds true for the next 4 weeks.
All right, so in terms of scheduling, it's the same times and days that we've been doing up to this point. Am I correct?
Yep, we are always doing on the weekend at 11 a.m. Usually it's one of your first streams on the speed gaming schedule, and on the Thursday it's at 3 p.m. So it's always the same time. I will try to put out a stream at all those dates. I do not have anything scheduled but the UD for the next 6 months, so I should not skip a single date after right now. I do hope that holds true, you never know.
All right, so stay tuned on our regular Saturday, Sunday day, particularly those Saturdays, because that's when I'll be here for sure. I'll probably show up on some of those other streams, but yeah, that keep a lookout for that. And team tournament, July tournament, it's all coming up.
Have a good one. Bye bye.